Hi, welcome to Senior Moments Successful Aging. I'm your host, Mary Beals-Luedtka. I'm the Area Agency and Aging NACOG Director, and you can reach us toll-free at 877-521-3500. This show is co-sponsored with the Division of Lifelong Learning at Yavapai College. If you have questions about the show, you can call that toll-free number, 877-521-3500, and ask for Allie, and she'll bring you up to date, or you could give her ideas about shows in the future you'd like to see, or maybe you have questions about what we talk about today. So we would love to hear from you, love your comments. Give us a call. I'm so excited to welcome back James Fitzpatrick.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So you were just here in March, and it was wonderful. Now, gosh, almost a half a year's gone by.
Yes.
I know. I don't know where it goes. So I want to start out with your background, and you're with the Alzheimer's Association. What's your official title?
My official title is Director of Programs and Advocacy.
Director of Programs and Advocacy. It's almost as long as mine.
It is, and a lot of people ask, what do I do? And I tend to say I do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So,
Lots of hats?
Lots of hats.
Lots of hats.
Yeah.
So how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I drove up here. So
That was good.
Yeah. So with my role, I oversee all of our programs and services. The Alzheimer's Association Desert Southwest chapters, all of Arizona as well as Southern Nevada. Mm-hmm. So we are one of the largest chapters out of the Alzheimer's Association network. Within the network, there's 81. The Desert Southwest chapter is just one of them. I have a dual role, so in general, I have two director positions. I have the Director of Programs as well as the Director of Advocacy. So I oversee all client-related services as well as all of our state and federal public policy efforts. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a really interesting mix. My background is in mental health.
Okay.
So overall, it was service provision. I started off doing behavioral therapy, case management, and just like moved up from there. Coming to the Alzheimer's Association, it was just tacked on the public policy aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I've learned a lot about government, more than I thought I ever would in my life.
I can relate.
Weirdly, I actually like it. I really like knowing how a bill becomes a law. I remember my first week, my executive director at the time said, "Oh, you remember that old Schoolhouse Rock video, how a bill becomes law?" And I was like, weirdly, I do. And so I remember like going on YouTube and watching it. That's not how a bill becomes a law. Well, I mean, I guess it is in the grand scheme of things. But it's definitely interesting what we see on like fact sheets or like little brief snippets of like what we get in our mailings on like what this bill is and what the bill actually is, because it's usually like, 50 to 100 plus pages.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting over the last couple of years that I've been with the Alzheimer's Association, because it's been 3 now. Being able to read through the jargon and actually try to support our local constituents on this is what this means, this is what that means, and really promote out.
And I think that's what everybody needs, because it's like you don't know who to trust, you don't know where to go. What are the facts? I mean, you get the stuff in the mail, but it's somebody that has a reason for sending you that bent on that opinion, and so it's hard to know how to really educate yourself, and that's what you have to do, is educate yourself.
So the Alzheimer's Association has this huge volunteer-based advocacy program.
Nice.
So our federal members of Congress, they don't necessarily want to meet with staff. I mean, I do have a direct connection to the disease, but overall, they want to meet with volunteers. They want to meet with their local constituencies. And the Alzheimer's Association adopted this Ambassador and Alzheimer's Congressional Team program, where we train volunteers on bills that the Alzheimer's Association is promoting. And we train them and set them free and go meet with individuals like up here, Representative Gosar, Representative O'Halloran, Senators McCain, Flake, and to go in on an ongoing basis, promote and educate them on the bills, promote and educate them on what Alzheimer's disease is, what it isn't, what dementia is, what dementia isn't, and how it affects them, like telling their personal stories, talking about their personal lives. And we've been really successful to where other health organizations are actually adopting the Alzheimer's Association's advocacy efforts, which is really nice. I mean, it's really nice
love
that
that.
everybody else is copying us. So.
Yeah, because that's the best form of flattery.
Exactly. It is the best form of flattery.
It is the best form of flattery.
Yeah.
And I know that Steve Jennings does a lot of, he comes in and trains my advisory council on how to be an advocate.
Yes.
And it's great because
exactly.
it's not what you think. It's bipartisan.
Exactly.
It's just what are the steps to take? What are the tricks and tips? You know, and I think that the personal stories are paramount.
It's very important. And I really try to support with all of my advocates, take the politics out of the work that we do.
Yes.
Because it's been in the 3 years that I've been with the association, we've had 2 elections. Several of our members of Congress have not been reelected.
Right.
The volunteers, I've had long-standing volunteers. Their members of Congress have rotated. They've had to start over, and it can get somebody complacent and be like, oh, but I've already done this. And it's like, yes, but revigor yourself. Bills, every 2 years, they die. They get reintroduced. And then, so far I've seen it with when I started, bills died, they started back, and they died again this past year, and, they're getting reintroduced again. So it is like ebb and flow, ebb and flow, ebb and flow. But the fact that we have such amazing volunteers, not just here in Arizona, but countrywide, that just this past year, we have this advocacy forum in DC where volunteers travel themselves, and we march on Capitol Hill, that they actually had to shut off registration because we had more than 1,300 individuals show up. And on this Wednesday in March, just everybody dons their purple, and we all get purple sashes. Just everybody's running around Capitol Hill meeting with their members of Congress. This is amazing that people believe in this effort so much, and it is the #1 chronic disease that has the most awareness in our country.
And it's in the top 5 cause of death in Arizona now, isn't it?
It is the number 4.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Number 4. And
Yeah.
that's not that's new, I believe, in this last assessment.
Yes, it's actually moving into probably the number 3.
Yeah, and so it's a huge thing in Arizona.
It is.
And I know so many people that the disease touches, and anything we can do to help you. I mean, are you looking for volunteers all the time?
We're always looking for volunteers. Always.
Where should they call if in the Quad City area if they want to volunteer for?
We have an 800 number, so
Okay.
800-272-3900. It always will direct you to the local office. Doesn't
Okay.
matter where you are, just will always direct you to the local office. That's the beauty of having an 800 number. It just magically. I asked one time, but it just magically directs you to the local office.
We do the same thing at the AAA. You can call our local toll-free number, and we can get you to one of the 4 offices we have in the region. So there is an office in Prescott.
There is an office in Prescott. This serves all of northern Arizona.
Which is wonderful.
Yes,
So,
yes.
and you have a new director?
We do. Her name's Carrie Uline.
Yeah.
She started in March. If anybody attended our annual education conference, it was her 3rd day. So we definitely don't hinder anybody from just pushing them out. Over the last several months, she's been doing an amazing job really looking at service gaps in the area, building partnerships. Because I know that you and I have had great partnerships, a great partnership for a while, but I do live in Maricopa County.
Yeah.
But really looking at having local partnerships is really important. And chapter-wide, we are a staff of 38 for 2 states. Wow. And we are one of the largest chapters. And we serve, it's 155,000 plus that have the disease. And that's what we know. That's not including caregivers. So it's really looking at, we need our community partners to support, because the disease is not going away. Caregivers need support. And really looking at what can we all do together. It's not just what the Alzheimer's Association can do, it's what can we all do together.
What can we all do together? Yeah. And it has a huge economic impact, and that's one of the things we talk about with the legislators. We all have to work together because we have caregivers that need support. There's education that needs to get out, and all that does take funding.
Yes. I mean,
it does take funding. And so, the more we band together, the more resources we'll have to work on that. So I love the advocacy piece. So then on the other side is the programs piece.
The programs.
Yeah.
So we have 6 core programs. Our first one is our helpline, which is the 800 number. Any time of the day, 365 days a year, you can call. You'll always speak to a live social worker.
24/7.
24/7.
What's the number again?
1-800-272-3900.
3900. That's great to know.
So always, 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 if you call, you'll automatically be redirected to the local office and speak to a live person. And it's anywhere from information referral to needing emotional support. So that is like our basic lifeline.
Yeah.
After that, we have care consultation, which is case management. And then it really pushes out to education. We do all sorts of education, from just community education on the basics of Alzheimer's, financial planning, looking at going out into the community and training our physicians. Right now I'm really trying to break out into dentists, because that is something that's really untapped. We've looking at first responders. It's like really looking at the gamut, and it's not just us. It's like, going to community partners like NACOG and saying, it's not us just doing the training. It's saying like, what can we do to partner with you, train the trainer, looking at that, and like you going to your community partners and saying, well, this is what Alzheimer's is, this is what dementia is, this is also what it isn't. We have support groups, anywhere from early stage support groups that are for people with the disease in early stage, as well as caregivers, bereavement support groups. We have early stage services. One thing that we do know is we really want to have individuals that have dementia to get an early diagnosis, so they can actually start planning for their future while they still have the cognitive ability. So with under the umbrella of early stage services goes back to case management, education, support groups, early stage social engagement. We really want to support individuals that have the disease, as well as their care partners, caregivers, that just because somebody has the disease does not mean that you need to stay in your home and life no longer stops. And we really support social engagement, because if we can get you to be engaged early on, then that practice becomes a habit. Because if I have the disease and you're my care partner and we always went to the movies, we just need to learn to adapt to how can we both still enjoy this even though the disease is progressing. And then safety services, which are medical alert, safe return, the bracelets, necklaces, shoe ties, that alert first responders to know that, like, if I have the disease, to be aware. But we also provide them to the caregivers or care partners, because something may happen to you and it needs to alert the first responders that somebody at home has Alzheimer's disease or dementia. And then we also provide first responder training. And that's just like the little things. And we that's the little things.
And then
we provide respite vouchers. One thing that caregivers really need is respite. And then it's just like breaks down from there, like all these like secondary programs and partnerships.
And I think you should explain what respite is, because a lot of folks are like, what's respite?
What's respite?
I mean, they do. You and I know what it is, but not everybody does.
So respite is for the caregiver, and really looking at, and it can vary from person to person, of having somebody come in the home for like an hour or two a week, or having the person with dementia going into an adult day center or facility for a couple of hours to provide the caregiver respite time for themselves to do what they need to take care of themselves. So we at the Alzheimer's Association are not the respite funders for the state. That is the area agencies on aging. We have respite funds. So we have like secondary funds that if because money is not everybody doesn't have just like a plethora of money.
None of us do.
None of us do. Like we don't either. But we do have grant funding to provide respite vouchers. So we don't give like the funding to like the individual. They pick the facility, and then we fund the facility. And it can be anywhere from just a couple of hours, or something that we did last July or June, July, because California is on a different school system than Arizona is. An individual, her daughter was graduating from college, and she was like so worried that her mother she couldn't go to her daughter's graduation, and you really want, that's a milestone, your child's graduating, and in general, our respite vouchers tend to be $500 vouchers. That is the rule, it's not the exception. And she was going to be gone for several days, and so she needed to place her mother in a facility for several days. So we actually funded
That's awesome.
for several days. Because it's really looking at what are the needs of our clients. It's not like what's easiest for us. It's what's best for the services of the individual. And knowing that we have this funding, hopefully it doesn't knock out. Hopefully we can continue to receive amazing grant funding and everything from like donations from our amazing donors. Because without them, all of our services are free. We don't charge for anything. So we're very dependent on our amazing donors, our grant funders, so we can allow these services for our clients.
And it's a huge economic burden. My sister had mom for 13 years.
Exactly.
And she did so much I can't even imagine everything that she did, but kept her socially involved, got early diagnosis because I pushed so hard for it. And
Exactly.
for 13 years she was pretty level.
And that's and how long ago was that? Because early diagnosis wasn't even like talked about. I mean,
14 years ago.
14 years ago.
I had to push hard for it. And it was only because of what I do that I knew about it. And I went right to the Alzheimer's Association here in town, and I got videos and books, and I took them back to Omaha, and I made everybody sit down and watch them. And that's how we started.
Yeah.
And so the resources that are there are endless, really, at the Alzheimer's Association. And it's good that you know that. And I love the philosophy of we shouldn't fund programs. We need to fund the people and what they
Exactly.
And certainly we used to have a line item for emergency respite. We also used to have dollars for other things that have gone away. But I do see some movement going with some more funding coming back at aging, because it's such a bipartisan issue. I feel like we're getting support from both sides of the aisles right now, and I really appreciate that.
It is, and it's really looking at like with our especially with respite, because that is like a huge thing. Knowing that if somebody is going through the process with area agencies on getting respite funds, like we can kick back a couple of dollars until like it rolls in.
Right.
And
gap.
The gap. And like, us being like the support on like the process with area agencies, and like promoting and supporting the process with area agency, and knowing that like our case management services isn't just limited to the Alzheimer's Association services. It's really looking at what partnerships are out there, what is out there, because what we do at the Alzheimer's Association is amazing, but what everybody else is doing is also amazing. And we need to ensure that our clients get a full level of service. And there are service gaps. I mean, when you are in Northern Arizona, there starts to be service gaps for individuals. You start looking at if somebody has dementia and they live by themselves, how are they going to feed themselves? How are they going to get transportation? Where are they going to get respite? I mean, once you start going to extreme rural, who's going to come out if they have a caregiver? Who's going to come out? And this is something that we need to address as a state.
Yes.
Because that is something that just like one individual organization can't handle on their own. This is like a state issue. But like really looking at these are service gaps that we deal with on a daily basis to try to support all of our clients as a whole. And it's really hard to tell somebody is like, well, we can help you with this, but there's nobody there to do it.
I hate that.
The fact that Arizona has few cities, but like many extreme rurals, becomes a detriment. But it's also we do have the luxury to know that we have multi-generational families within the homes. It's not just single families. So we do have, being part of this network and talking to colleagues within other chapters of the Alzheimer's Association, I feel blessed knowing that with the various cultures within our state, that we do have different dynamics than different states do.
Correct.
Just with the various multicultural families, and then you have the multi-generations. So like a caregiver may not get burnt out because there's 3 or 4 of them in the families, so you do definitely see a different dynamic, especially in this day and age.
Yes, especially in this day and age. Well, let's talk back. You mentioned awareness.
Yes.
So I want to talk about awareness a little bit and some things that you and I are working on together.
Okay.
So Dementia Friendly Arizona.
Dementia Friendly Arizona.
Yeah.
So Dementia Friendly is all about awareness. It started originally in Japan, then Britain jumped on. There's a couple of states that are really pushing towards dementia friendly. And here in Arizona, Tempe has been going towards dementia friendly. Tempe for this point, I think 2.5, 3 years now.
I was going to guess 3. Yeah.
3. So I've been like part of dementia friendly Tempe for a while now. And I go out and do trainings to make to support with training individuals to be dementia friends. But it's all about awareness. And one thing that we want, and it's something that we're working on, is dementia friendly Arizona.
Yes.
Because the one thing that there isn't is awareness of the disease. With it being in the top 6 in the country, top 4, well, it's in the top 5 in our state. It's the least funded. The disease in the top 5 has the deaths on the incline. We're not getting any younger. They're finding all of these interventions and preventions for all the other top 4 chronic diseases, except for this. Even though there's amazing research, there's amazing research here in Arizona.
In Arizona, yes.
But without awareness, we can't support individuals with the disease or their caregivers. So with the initiative that we are starting together,
yes.
which we are starting together, it's in the early stages, and it all came just because like a group of partners like sat around a table
and talked about
it.
Yeah.
I mean that's basically it. Is like, and it's
how do we do this?
How do we do this?
Yeah.
But it's really boils down to we all need to get together, and it's not us. It's everybody needs to get together, and we will see, because it is going to happen. I mean, that's the thing, is it is going to happen.
And I think you have to start at step 1, obviously. And the thing that I want to, bring out to our viewers is that dementia friendly is not just for people in the field of aging or social work or health. It's for postal workers. It's for the people at the Kiwanis. It's for folks who have businesses. It's for everybody, so that we know better how to be friendly to the folks in our community, so they can live a better quality of life.
And it's also looking at, it's Johnny who lives next door to Mr. Smith.
Yes.
I mean, it's really just saying, it's for everybody.
Yeah.
And knowing that if you just have awareness of what dementia friendly is, then it's not saying that you have to be an expert in what dementia is, but if you're just aware, then it's will support everybody. Arizona has the second highest projected diagnosis rate in the country, next to Alaska, and we talked about this in March.
Yeah.
We don't have the most people with the disease. Florida does, but when you look at our population, the population density, that is a detriment. We really need to look at that.
And that helps us all deal with it better.
Exactly.
Because I know, my mother's been misinterpreted at a store.
Yes.
Her caregiver was male. And she had an episode in the bathroom, and the staff just did not know what to do. And they didn't know, they were like, oh yeah, she's in there, we heard her. It's like, no, you need to eyeball her.
Exactly.
Somebody needs to go in and look at her. And really that's the last time the caregiver took her to a store, which is really sad. Because that social engagement is important. I've seen both sides of it. When somebody becomes isolated, I don't care if you have dementia or not.
Exactly.
It's bad for you.
Exactly. But if like somebody in that store just had an awareness, and if they just would have had like the patience of just been like, she's in there, let's give her 30 seconds and not bother her. Something. Then like, because if she needed help, she may have said, it's like there's always something.
There's some sign.
And we can't assume that somebody that has dementia or Alzheimer's does not have any cognitive ability. And
Correct.
I think that is like that is the confusion, that people that have Alzheimer's disease forget everything. And that is not the case. And we need to learn to adapt to people that have the disease. They don't need to adapt to us.
Yes.
And that is the awareness. That is like the whole part of the awareness, is that not everybody, everybody that has Alzheimer's disease or related dementia has it differently. Every situation is going to be different. Literally every situation is going to be different. And we need to have an awareness as a society that this disease is not going away. If you have not been touched by it yet, you will be. Or you will know somebody that has it. And if you work in the community, you will know you're
you're going to know. And I think that goes quickly on the what dementia isn't.
Exactly.
And knowing that dementia is not, oftentimes you become aphasic. You're still thinking things in your brain, but you can't make that connection. I know what my mother's trying to tell me by looking at her eyes.
Yes.
She reacts to my body language. She reacts to me, but she can't say the words.
Yes.
So we can still communicate because I'm aware of it.
Exactly. And sometimes it's just like, think about like if like I'm going back to your mother, like the whole situation. Like there's numerous things that could have occurred that didn't. That if we just would have paused, if we would have paused, or like the individual would have paused and just let her be or what have you.
Just take a break.
But it's like trying to like make the situation about us and not about the individual.
And I think that's a key thing to take away from this, because it isn't about us, it's about the individual. And about how can we adapt our cities, our towns, our state, so that we can be friendly to those who have dementia, who can function for longer than you think.
For longer than you think.
Yes. Is there? And so, gosh, we're already running out of time. I don't know how that happens. When we get together, we just
it happens when we're just together, like outside of this.
I know. It's like, whoa. Okay. So I want to really quick mention though, in October
21st, we have our walk here in Prescott
at the Courthouse Plaza.
It's an amazing event. Registration starts at 7:30. The walk itself starts at 9.
Sounds like fun.
It is amazing. If anybody's been before, 2 years ago it rained, but we still had like a huge.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter if it rains.
These walks are amazing. My first day was walk. I love walk season, but October 21st.
End Alzheimer's. Like, and this is like the biggest awareness. Like, anytime I travel, and I travel quite a bit. I always wear my swag and get stopped everywhere I go. I love it. Thank you, James, for coming back.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Yes, you will.
James Fitzpatrick, this is Mary Beals-Luedtka, Senior Moment. Until next time.